All right. Let me get the Zoom stuff out of the way. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
And the volume is okay, I trust?
Yep.
All right. This is our first feature canvas. What we're looking for is to solve the problems that users have in trying to find a place to go for vacation or sightseeing or events. It takes a lot of time and effort to search for it. You can't find a consolidated list. You might want to try some local events. You don't want to eat at McDonald's every day, so you want to find stuff that's local to the area that you're going to, get a little feel for the area. And it's just difficult to do. So we've come up with a solution to dynamic search functionality, display the destinations that meet your criteria in a grid view so that you can look into them for more information if desired.
Okay.
And some of the activities that go along with that also in a grid view. So our marketing message isn't too exciting, but it gets the point across, making it easy for users to search for destinations and activities using an intuitive UI. So to finish that section, the objectives that we set for ourselves: to make the destinations easy to search for, and to display relevant information about the destination. So we are going to use the following metrics to gauge our results: the percentage of people that search for a destination, what the click-through is on those destinations, and we want to have a bounce rate of less than 40%.
How do you guys define bounce rate?
We define bounce rate as somebody comes to the site and leaves without doing anything, any meaningful interaction with the site.
Got it. Perfect. That makes sense. Great.
All right. Any other questions on this top section?
Yeah, the dynamic search functionality. It would be interesting to hear how you guys, how robust are we talking about search here? Like, what would you be able to search by?
By interest. You'll see when we get into, use a political phrase, the opposition research, you'll see one of the things that we looked at from this company here called Trip Hobo. In fact, I can jump down there real now and show it to you quickly. You see how one of the things that they do to kind of assess what might be of interest to a user, these little sliders. We think we can do a little bit better job with this and make it more dynamic and more suited to the individual and what they're looking for and what they might enjoy.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, actually, I think it'd be helpful to have maybe if you walk me through what all 6 or 7 of your feature canvases are, like not at a bulleted list of like, and then like maybe a 1 or 2 sentence description of each feature, so that I get a picture of like how this app builds out over time, and then dive into like the next one.
Okay, well, I can give you the real brief overview of the ones that pertain to the web. That's the number 1. Let me slide over the number 2 here.
Okay.
This one here is, again, somewhat similar as far as the problems, the difficulty in finding information and reviews about an attraction. But, a little bit more in depth here, keeping track of it, because you might have, you might write it all down in your little book, or you might try to keep track of it in your head. But then that's going to eat up a lot of your mental bandwidth. They can't remember the things that they've done. Oh, didn't we already do this? No, but I wanted to. Oh, we got rained out or whatever. So this keeps track of it in there. And our message here: let us be your travel and activity search engine. The third one is organizing it. Hard to find specific users that they enjoy. Prices can be difficult. That may not fit into your budget. It might be something you really enjoy or a place you really want to go see, but it doesn't fit into your budget, so it doesn't work. So this helps us decide to fit in, to make the best fit. And we want the marketing message here: you're not a demographic. You're not a male 18 to 34, so you're going to like exactly what everybody else in that group does. You're an individual. Do what you enjoy in the way you want it. We won't get any details on this apparently, but our 4th one was making it collaborative, making it a group thing. Find something that the group will enjoy as a whole. because everybody's different. Well, you know, if you got kids, you know that one wants to do this, one wants to do that, and they're completely different things. And so,
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's helpful.
Will hopefully help with that. So that's the brief overview of the 4. Going back to 1, we've gone through this. The research here, we looked at some of these things. We've seen some different ways of doing that. We don't have a UX designer, so we've kind of gone with some very bare bones.
Sure.
I don't even know if you want to call these wireframes, mock-ups.
Wireframes, yeah, sure. Okay.
So, very bare bones. Now, you've seen a little bit of our competitor research. I showed you a little bit of Trip Hobo. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I appreciate you stopping in here this evening. But this was a site that we really liked, and we thought, wow, this is something we can build off of. Because we felt like they did some good things and some things that maybe not so good that we could improve on. So,
okay.
Other competitors that we took a look at were Airbnb, although there's, oops, wrong click. Airbnb's scope, I'm sure you're familiar with Airbnb. Their scope is obviously a lot broader than ours, but they've got some things in there that we can, quote, borrow, unquote, and some things, again, that we think we can do a little better. TripIt was another one. And again, you see that it's I consider it a very basic layout here. We think, again, we can improve on that and make it more intuitive and more useful overall, and also do a better job at storing the information. And then UTrip is got some of the things that we like here as far as the doing things in cards here and tying in events and the collaboration. So again, a couple things there we like and want to. So we want to bring it all together. You take some of the best things of these, improve on them.
Okay, so if I were to like repeat back to you what you guys have built out in your 4 feature canvases here, you've got I want to search for destinations, and there's going to be some dynamic search around that that's going to make it more robust than, say, just searching for names. I don't have to understand exactly what that is, but there's going to be some sort of dynamic search for destinations. Then within the next feature that you're going to roll out is I can basically like favorite the destination and maybe some of the activities that happen at the destination and put them on a calendar. Like, is that how that's going to work? Like, walk me through your like itinerary builder thingy.
That's very well said. That's
Okay.
almost exactly what our plan is. And I can't say for certain it's on this.
No, it's okay. Let me keep going. Let me see if I'm like connecting the dots across the different features here.
Okay.
So that's like, okay, destinations, searching, and then itinerary building, calendaring, basically the different activities that can happen at a destination. And then the third feature is, you called it organization. And that one, frankly, lost me. Can you flip back over to it real quick? Let me see if I can recall it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you're going to get more. You're going to get more details on this from, I think Wynn is going to present this card to you, so he'll give you some more details on that.
Gotcha. And I'm, like I said, I'm trying to fly across the top here and like get the whole scope of this product before I dive into any one.
Yeah, and a better term may be categorization for this one.
Okay.
So like
categorizing.
filtering by like price, allowing users to really pinpoint what they want to do, and then the like sliders for like the outdoor activities. Yeah.
Advanced filtering. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, maybe even renaming it to like advanced filtering instead of organization. Because what I thought when I saw organization is that you're going to give me advanced itinerary tools to allow me to do like some really crazy organization of my itinerary. But what you're actually saying is I can search for destinations or activities or both.
Right. You see that here in the objectives right here. So, but yeah, you're probably right. Advanced. Well, it's already some of the
we would be filtering attractions.
Yeah, advanced filtering is probably a more descriptive.
Attractions and activities are the same thing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, and then number 4 was collaboration, and it seems like you have like several different options or several different ways you could allow collaboration. One is like, I want to share this with a group so that they can see it. Like that's sort of like multiple people can view it. And then the next one is multiple people can edit it, like actually use the calendar builder thingy. And then the third thing was people can vote on specific attractions or experiences. Some, I guess the ones that are already on the itinerary, or maybe they can like add to like a favorited list for a specific itinerary or something along those lines. So each of the things on this canvas feels like a unique feature, like a feature canvas. Each of the things on this canvas feels like a feature canvas, right? Like, and the reason I say that is, yes, they're all related to collaboration. But the way that I think of feature canvases is like a unique set of value that you could deliver to a customer. So the way I just described it to like one of the previous teams is, if you were to release this feature in your application, would you tweet about it?
Right, and I would say you're right about that. This fourth one is actually, of course, stretch because the 3 were the ones we were required to have. So yeah, we want to give ourselves some ambitious stretch goals so that we can.
Oh, you'll get to sharing.
Oh yeah, that's where we want to get to. So yeah, but you're
and
right.
The other thing is like the other reason that I would split this up into 3 different ones is because once you get number 1 done and number 2 done, you actually might find out that customers don't really care about advanced filtering as much as they care about sharing it with the group. Because traveling with a group is a more important problem to the customer. Maybe, this is a total hypothesis. Traveling with a group is a more important problem than really drilling down and searching by like 15 different, filters and stuff like that. And so you want to be able to say, this is the order that we think that we should build them in. But by the time we get past like feature cycle 1 or 2, we've got actual people using our product. We're getting feedback continually. And we may reorder these. And so I would hate for you to say, well, I don't know if we can get everything in collaboration done. So we don't want to bite that one off. You don't have to. Like those are three unique canvas. Like those are 3 unique features that each one of them could be shipped independently as a separate feature canvas. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I thank you for the input. That's very helpful.
Okay, so I think there's also, I know that you guys have a lot of detail stuff in here right now. We only have like 15 minutes left. So I know there's like a whole Android side of this thing too, right?
All right. So you're telling me I should shut up then, right?
You're done, Jamie. I'm shutting you down. No,
okay.
So yeah, let's switch over to the Android side and talk about that. And then maybe we can talk, maybe what I'd like you guys to be thinking about is like, what are the most challenging technical issues that you have questions about? And I'll try to save some time at the end of the conversation for questions around those technical issues. But like, I want to make sure that I get through all of the feature canvases and give feedback across those first.
All right, then I will turn it over to somebody raise their hand.
Who's doing the Android?
Is that Brandon?
Yeah, I can do it.
All right.
Just send it to me if you like.
Yeah, we originally had it set up for each of our members to do one of the feature canvases, but I can handle them all real quick.
I'm totally blowing up y'all's presentation. This is like a test of your ability to roll with it.
Let me share my screen real quick.
Sure. And this is exactly what your manager will do to you in a professional setting, by the way. He will come in and he will tell you, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see this. I don't care what you had planned to show me. I want to see these 3 things instead. You don't have those 3 things? Well, why don't you have those 3? Those are the 3 things I want to see. So anyway, I'm trying to be nice about it at least.
Right, so for the first feature canvas, we just wanted to be able to view the itinerary, just like pulling to the back end, and this is display it, essentially. For the second one, we want to add modification and event searching, so they can view and modify and add new events as their plans change. For the third one, the ability to share an itinerary, just like a simple text out via message or email. Quick searching for things like gas stations or restrooms, and an adaptive itinerary. So it will change based on what they actually did versus what their itinerary was. Dig a little deeper into the first one. The problems just simply travelers don't have access to itinerary without internet connection. So we're going to save a copy of the itinerary locally to their phone. That way, if they lose signal, lose connections, they have a local backup to follow. Some of the objectives for this one would be just getting Google login, authentication, SQL databases, all that fun stuff. We're using GraphQL for the database, so we're using Apollo to access that.
Gotcha. Can I, Brandon, can I ask you to give me the whole arc of your story too before we dig into one of them?
Sure.
So what's the next feature that comes after itinerary viewing?
That'd be the modification and event searching.
Why is it two things?
Well, if you add modification to it, you need to have the events to replace the things you modify. So if they want to replace,
got it. Okay, so you could just call it itinerary modification.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to, yeah. Okay.
They
so
basically go hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
So, all right. So number one is view my itinerary. Number two is edit my itinerary. You guys are gonna share the same backend.
Yes.
Right? Like if I do something on the back end, okay, so there's some interesting timing issues here, right? Like feature canvas 1 for the web team is destination search. Feature canvas 2 is itinerary creation. Feature canvas 1 for Android is itinerary viewing. So interesting. The way that if you guys are actually working on, have you guys had any conversations with anyone and any of the managers around like, do you work on these canvases simultaneously? Any of that?
We talked to the Ryan about it, and together as a team, and the current plan is to have mock data set in place for us to use to build the itinerary, because the Android app wouldn't really have a function without having the itinerary set up anyways, since it's a companion app to the web. Yep. And we're going to have custom views and stuff set up for the itinerary viewer, make it look nice and pretty. And those will take a little more time than perhaps the web people will take to get the itinerary pushed out. So we're expecting to be a little later on releasing the first product cycle than the web team is.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. Okay, so basically, I think that's a smart way to handle it. Is like you guys are going to need some, in terms of like Android, are you guys thinking about splitting into two teams kind of effectively? And have you guys divided around the teams yet?
That's kind of what we did. The web team is separate from the Android team. They're basically making two different apps.
Yeah, we're just basically sharing the back end, but front end is all different.
Yeah, and then just as a point of clarification for the mock data, we want their first feature canvas to actually be connected correctly to the backend. So our goal is to have like initial itinerary seed data for them to use. And then to work in parallel, we'll just make sure that the backend is supporting both the web app and the Android canvas.
Right, so that's what I was going to imply, is that the implication here is that while the Android team is working on the itinerary viewer, there will be at least one web developer or one Android developer who has some backend skills that's going to be building out that seed data and that data model for what the itinerary needs to be like effectively. Like you'll have one person on your team that's designing for, like that's building out the data model that's going to support Android feature canvas 1 and web feature canvas 2. Right? That makes sense? Even though the web won't have a UI for it at the beginning, the backend and the API, the GraphQL endpoints need to all exist. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to lay out how you guys might release this. This is gonna be awesome. All right, so next is sharing.
Yes. So it's the ability to share the itinerary with, like I said, either an email or a text message. So we'll just set it up in text format and push it out to whatever application can handle that. That should be pretty easy to implement. And then quick searching would be just having like a hotkey set up for like searching for nearby restrooms or gas stations. It's a quick way for them to find what they need, but have to like type it in and search for it. Yeah, if you go along with the event searching for the second one, because it still has a map and event searching, all that fun stuff. And then the adaptive itinerary is going to be the most difficult part of this product feature. And that one is going to be, for example, if we use GPS location, and if they stay at an event longer than what they're scheduled to, it can push back the future events to adapt for what they actually do. At the same time, it can save the history of what they did.
Okay, cool. So that feels like the fact, so anytime you're building a feature canvas, it seems to me if you have like a comma delimited list with ands in the title of the feature canvas, you're probably dealing with multiple feature canvases.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. We may push the sharing and quick searching up to the second one because they're both pretty quick and easy things to implement.
No, split them into separate feature canvases.
Gotcha.
They solve distinct problems, right? Like itinerary modification is like, I want to edit my itinerary on my mobile. Frankly, I'm not even sure how useful that is. Cool, I guess. But like I've got the desktop app to edit itineraries. If I'm editing itineraries, I probably want like a mouse and a keyboard. Maybe. This is a total hypothesis, right? What I might want to do though is I might want to share like a view only version of my itinerary with a group of travelers that I'm traveling with first. And so that feels like a unique set of value that if I could share from my mobile and then they could view it on their mobile, that'd be pretty sweet. And you've already got that in Feature Canvas 1 viewing. Again, right? Like another reason, I think I already said this to this team. I've been meeting with a lot of teams, so I apologize. One of the reasons you want to slice these into distinct feature canvases is so that you can reprioritize them based on user feedback, right? So sharing with other people that I'm traveling with is a unique value that you might want to push out separately. And then quick searching would also be something that's super valuable of like, I just want to quickly find this, right? That's a totally separate problem that's solving. And then same thing for adaptive itinerary, which also the fact that you said adaptive itinerary is potentially very hard, you almost certainly want that as part of a separate feature canvas so that if you bite that one off, you're only biting that one off. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think you're dealing with 3 here.
Yeah.
One thing that Basil, one thing, before you jump in, I heard you want to jump in that I'd love to hear. One thing I want to make sure, the last team that I talked with, when I talked this all out with them and I was talking about the next feature releases, they had this idea that they had to have like 6 weeks worth of product planning in place by the end of this week. And then it was set in stone and then they had to like keep working on it for 6 weeks. That is not the intention here. The intention, like think of this like a deck of cards where you're splitting your different feature, you've got different features, like feature groups that are like, each represents a unique set of value you could deliver to a customer. Some of them have natural staging in them. Like you have to be able to search for destinations and say, I want to go there. You have to be able to search for destinations before you can build an itinerary, right? So you got to build that first. But then after you get down, the branching gets really crazy of like things that you could build this before that. And hopefully you're making each of those decisions with user feedback. And so having really small feature canvases that you can ship in 4 days even is not a problem. That's actually a really, really good thing. That you can get like unique sets of value out to the customer and get feedback from them every couple of days. That would be amazing. I think you'll find as you get into these that each one of them takes about twice as long as you're expecting it to. And that you end up with a 3-day feature canvas turns into a week and a day. And now you're like, oh, crud. Okay, what do I have time left to build? So like cut these into smaller releases. There's no reason to solve 3 problems in a single release. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think we actually probably crammed too much in each. I was thinking that we had like 2 or 3 weeks, and so we wanted to put enough in each one of them, and that was kind of the general idea. So yeah, we'll have to go through and break this apart, absolutely. So we may end up having 6 different feature canvases. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is you mentioned, why would you want to edit an itinerary? Keyboard and mouse is a much better way, but we're thinking that when someone's actually in the field, maybe they will actually have a conversation with someone, and if someone recommends, oh, actually, you should go to this place, and they're not at their desktop or whatever, and they want to be able to have a quick way of editing it, or like cut short their thing and not have their whole itinerary all messed up. So we want to have a kind of a, first we'll do it a manual way, and then eventually we'll do a dynamic way, the adaptive way that Brandon was saying. And to us, that just makes perfect sense because life happens, and it doesn't actually everything doesn't always go according to plan.
Yeah, and I do think that would also fit into if you have a hike planned and then it ends up raining that day, you can offer to kind of go do these other things and edit on the fly in a more kind of user flow way instead of them searching for something else to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I promised I would try to leave time for technical stuff at the end. I haven't even gotten to search and recollection yet of the last feature canvas for Android. Like I said, I think you guys, so one thing from a high level point of view, I love your key results that you're trying to attach quantitative results that you can observe to each one of these feature canvases. The way you guys have laid things out, problems, solutions, objectives, key results, you guys clearly get what the sections mean. everything looks good about, and I think you're doing a good job of planning out the different work that you need. There's two things that I need you guys to do in terms of like checking off your feature canvases. One is just reorganize around smaller feature canvases where you're actually solving a unique problem for each one. You're going to end up with a ton of feature canvases, which is fine, right? 3 was the minimum. You're going to end up way past that. You're going to be great. And then the second thing is actually talking to some actual customers. So I know you guys have done some great competitive research, but doing a couple of interviews with people who are travelers will, I think, inform some of this. Have you guys done any of that yet?
No.
Okay. So in sometime this week, some subset of you needs to talk to 3 or 4 people who travel. Shouldn't be that hard to find users. Like, I think I mentioned this to you the first time I talked to you guys. Me and a friend about 5 years ago looked into building this tool, and we spent a month on it. And we talked to customers. We went on Facebook and like set up interviews with people, 15 minutes, talk about their traveling experiences, talk about their problems, that kind of stuff. You need to have some of that experience in this week and get actual feedback from customers, potential customers, right? You might talk to them and they might say, I'm not the kind of person who would ever use an app to plan my itinerary. I like paper. And that's fine, right? Like, but you need to hear the problems that people are having as they're traveling. And that needs to be incorporated into your planning as you're thinking about what order to lay these things out.
Jess, do you mind if I jump in too?
Yeah, go for it, Brent.
Hi guys, I snuck in real quick. Brent, nice to meet you. I think Jess is spot on. I think that you guys did a really great job about getting all the details in here. You have a lot more feature canvases than you realize. Each one of these feature canvases should have one objective that it's tied to. And the one objective comes from the objectives in your product vision document. So, and the problems themselves also come from the thing in the document. So I think from a high level, we have a little bit of work to do on the feature canvases, and we'll get to that. I don't want to completely derail this call because I do want Jess to be able to answer the technical stuff, but he's spot on. Like, so I want y'all to know that you did a really good job given what we told you guys. In fact, you went above and beyond what we told you guys to do. And that's awesome. So I'll help y'all shape the direction we need to go with these canvases, and we'll get there.
Yeah, man.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, go for it.
So for the talking to customers, how important is it just that we have like the same kinds of questions for all the people going to ask different customers?
Like I mentioned this morning on the call, the most important thing is that you talk to customers, period. Right? Like, so don't worry. So I gave you guys like a script that you could use for talking to customers and stuff like that. Once you actually start doing customer conversations, you'll realize that, oh, there's some better ways to do this and there are some worse ways to do this. There was a way that, like, I had a 15-minute conversation and nothing useful came out of it. I probably need to change how I ask questions. But it's a lot like coding. Like, you don't really know what you know. You don't really know what you don't know until you start doing it. So just have some conversations and see how they go. If you guys wanted to get together and like come up with a set of questions together, that would be great. But I don't want to put any blocker of like, you must do this before you go talk to customers between you and talking to customers. Does that make sense, Ryan?
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
You want to know how I do it, like really fast?
Actually, Brent, hey, I'm going to get dinged by my wife if I don't leave soon. So I'm going to have to, like, I need to answer technical questions now. What do you guys have for me? And then Brent, you maybe have a few minutes just to hang out.
I do have 10 more minutes till my next call.
All right, so for the technical portion, on the first rollout, we're just using Google Maps API, the Apollo library, SQLite, which is integrated with Android natively, and NVVM architecture. We've done most of the stuff before. We haven't used the Apollo API yet, Apollo library yet, but we've done everything else before.
I have a question on that one.
Sure, go for it, Basil.
How close do we actually have to be to the actual API that we're going to use? Because I know we're going to use like a restroom API or something like that, but I haven't found the actual one that I'm going to use yet. Do we have to find all these specific ones right now, or can we wait?
You can definitely wait. Yeah, so the API research can be done just in time as you're planning out the, as you're planning out the actual like work that you're doing, once you've started on this feature canvas, then you can do the, sorry, I'm not being clear. Let me rewind. When you guys get done with your feature canvases, each of your teams will then pick up the first feature canvas and try to break it into user stories that you can start working on. And at that point, you'll actually need to potentially spike into some different technical solutions, right? You might say, does GraphQL really work for us? We thought it did, but none of us have spiked into it yet. Turns out that the Apollo client for Android is terrible. Like, we don't want to use it. Let's fall back to REST, right? So you need to do those technical investigation work at that stage. But it should not gate your feature canvas, if that makes sense. So that clear? Okay, cool. Other technical questions. Don't feel like you need to walk me through every feature canvas. I love that these are here and I can refer to them. I want to hear what you guys are like arguing about all week.
Not necessarily arguing, but I did have a question if there are any potential like long-term concerns for our API call. We're using like the Google Places for the destination search, which gives us a lot of query potential, but they have a client API and a server API, and we're planning on using the server API. So the client will make a request to our server, and then our server will make a request to the Google API, and then we'll take that response on our server and parse it and cache data that we need to, and then send it back. And I know that might not be the best way to do it, but it seemed to be the better way. Then that way we can parse and cache data that we need to.
Sorry, can you repeat the question there? I heard a description.
So are there any long-term concerns that we should be aware of in doing it that way? Like basically having a middleman API server that basically takes the client request.
Yeah. It's a great question, by the way. This is like a genuine architectural question of like there are pros and cons in both directions, which is why I'm kind of not jumping to an answer here. Why couldn't you ask me an easy one, Aaron? No, I'm just kidding. I would say that you're probably going to be fine either way you go. I think the guiding principle should be, does the front end also need this API, and would I be able to put in place a consistent wrapper around that API does the web also need this same API? And would my project benefit from an API wrapper around it that would serve both the web and the Android the same? Does that make sense? If
Yes,
it doesn't do that, then you may want to have the Android go straight to the API and bypass the front end, bypass the back end entirely. But again, I think it's going to depend on like an API by API basis, and like different APIs have different implementation patterns, right? What comes with the SDK, what's baked into the way that, yeah. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. Thank you.
I wish I could answer more like definitively. No, always do it this way. So, any other technical questions before I jump? Guys, this is great work. Seriously, like I love the way, I'm actually really excited for this team because I think you guys are actually going to pull this off of having two teams within a single project, building two different interfaces to the same product. So like, this has got to be like, this is like instantly elevated to one of my favorite labs projects already, and you guys haven't even started coding yet. So this is super cool. Do not be intimidated by slicing up your feature canvas. Every team that I've talked to has had to like rethink about, like reorganize the way that they've distributed them, but you already have all of the data that goes into them. The one thing that just needs to be done is just talk to a few customers, and then you guys are in good shape. All right.